The room was too quiet. Not peaceful quiet, but the kind of quiet where every sound feels amplified. There was a machine in the corner, beeping slowly. There was a monitor on the wall and a thin green line moving across the screen. Every few seconds, it decided everything. Doctors were speaking calmly. Nurses were moving with purpose. But all I could see was that line. Because if it stopped, everything stopped. In that hospital room, that's the night my husband had a heart attack. He survived, but in many ways, that night just didn't say my husband's, it woke up mine. In that hospital room, none of the things I worked hard for could help us. Not the degree, not the career, or not the plan that I had carefully built. There were no titles in that space. A quiet room, a monitor, and a sound of a heart fighting to keep going. 5 days later, I brought my husband back home on Father's Day. We want to be honest with our son. He was 6 at that time, and we told him. He looked at me and asked, "Amma, is Appa going to die? Am I going to be alone?" That question broke something inside me. Because at that moment, success didn't matter. Only security did. Weeks followed after that was just a blur. Multiple ER visits, complications, medications, procedures. My husband was too weak that he couldn't even walk. So I had to manage everything. Cooking, cleaning, medications, prescriptions, school drop-off, pick-up, paying bills, finances. I was reading reports, medical reports, that I never imagined I had to read. I was learning quickly, adapting constantly. Underneath all of it, one steady awareness. If I fall, everything falls apart. So I didn't. I kept moving until 5 a.m. one day morning. My chest started hurting. Because I had witnessed heart attack just a few days back, I panicked. And for the very first time in my life, I did something. I rang my neighbor's doorbell. I asked for help. I asked her to drive me to ER. Lying in that ER room, waiting for the test results, crying, not because of the pain, because of the fear. What will happen to my son if something happens to me too? Doctors came, said it was anxiety, everything is fine, everything is normal. But something inside me was not. When things started slowing down, when my husband regained strength, when crisis quieted, I went back to that hospital room on my mind. Something unsettled me more than the fear I ever had. My husband didn't wake up one day and he broke. There had been signals. His heart had been under stress for a long time. signals the quiet ones and the easy to ignore ones. And I couldn't escape this one question. If I had missed the strain building in the heart of someone I love, what I had trained myself not to notice in my own life? That question took me somewhere I was not prepared to go. It forced me to examine how I was measuring my life and what I had been ignoring. And that's where I want to take you today. For years, I thought I was thriving. If you looked at my resume, you would see success. Double masters, successful career managing risk systems, financial stability, growing business, beautiful family, a dashboard full of KPIs, key performance indicator, a metric an organization used to measure success. Everything looked great on paper, but in reality, I was not thriving, I was surviving. Surviving childhood abandonment, surviving unprocessed pain, surviving staying busy because slowing down felt dangerous. Sadly, I'm not alone. Roughly half of the adults in the United States say they are thriving. The rest are suffering or just getting by. Women, especially who manages both career and caregiving, goes through a lot of stress because we carry more, we endure more, we absorb more, and we call it strength. Strength without sustainability always shows up somewhere. In my work, I analyze risk. I study numbers until pattern emerge. I detect early warning signs in the system. But that day, I realized I had never turned that lens on myself. Instead, I had normalized certain things. I normalized the exhaustion I wore like a badge. I had normalized the tightness in my chest. I had normalized the pace that never slowed down. I told myself it's just temporary. I told myself it just means I'm committed. In business, there are lagging indicators and leading indicators. Lagging indicators tells you what had already happened. Leading indicators tells you what's coming. And when I looked at my life as a whole, I realized I was managing or running my life on lagging indicators. Income, resilience, achievement. It showed me how I appeared, but it didn't show me how I was holding up. So I did something small but human. I stopped optimizing my life. Instead, I started noticing, tracking, not the happiness or success, but I started paying attention to things that changed and when I started feeling less like myself. Slowly, there were patterns that started to emerge. There were many patterns. 3 showed up. Like the signs I've been missing for years or been ignoring for years. The first was sleep. So small, so dismissive, ordinary. Not the crisis or not the burnout. Sleep. I'd been trading sleep for years. Late nights, certifications, finishing up one more task after everyone was asleep. And when I started to track my sleep, I saw a pattern. 3 or 4 nights, less than 7 hours of sleep, I was becoming someone else. My patience disappeared. My throat hardened. So I didn't need a spreadsheet My family was feeling it. The second signal was connection. I remember that hospital moment, waiting in the lounge for my husband to come out and managing everything, ending up in the ER for anxiety. I had to face something uncomfortable. I didn't know who to call. Not because I didn't know people, but because I had trained myself to manage everything alone. Somewhere along the way, I had confused resilience with isolation. Isolation makes a system brittle. So I started asking each question one day. Did I connect with someone today? Sometimes it's just holding my husband's hand. Sometimes texting an old friend, admitting I'm tired. Or sometimes listening to someone with intent. Connection doesn't have to be long or dramatic. Connection has to be real and meaningful. The third signal was capacity. Some days nothing had gone wrong, but I felt heavier. I remember one day my son asked me to sit on the floor and build something small with him. And I felt irritation rise before I felt love. It scared me. Not because I didn't love him, but because I was so depleted, I couldn't access it. For years, I judged those days. I told myself, be consistent, push through, be disciplined. I treated fluctuations like failure until I told the truth. Some days, the capacity is lower. That's not weakness, that's human. So on those lower capacity days, I started protecting my sleep. I postponed hard conversations and decisions. I lowered my own expectations instead of raising criticism on my head. Slowly, I see patterns emerge. The night I didn't sleep, I had no bandwidth. The days I didn't connect, I had no support. Without bandwidth or support, I felt heavier. So instead of asking, what's wrong with me? I started asking, what did I stop doing today? Did I stop connecting? Did I stop sleeping? Or did I stop protecting my capacity? Asking that question changed everything. It removed shame. It gave me choice. So after my husband's incident, I started protecting my sleep. I started saying no more often. I started asking for help. Still, it's difficult, but I try. And I wasn't sure if the things that I was doing was working, right? Until something small and profound showed it was. A few months later, my son and I were sitting on the table doing math homework. And he goes like, Amma, I love when you put your phone away and help me. That was it. That hit me hard. Old version of me would have been there, physically present, but divided, checking my phone for notifications, messages. But that day, I stayed. I connected with him. There was no applause, no awards, no accomplishments unlocked. But just presence. That was the difference. The difference between being there and difference between being available. And that one statement, Amma, I love how you put your phone away and help me. I thought back to that hospital room. That thin green line moving across the screen. Up, down, up, down. The line didn't move because of my titles. The line didn't move because of my ambitions. The line didn't move because I was holding everything together. That line moved because the system was still alive. So that's when something became very clear to me. We spend years measuring what makes us impressive, but we almost spend no time measuring what keeps us alive. So you don't need a hospital visit to learn that. You can ask sooner. Not, how am I performing? Not, how successful I am? But, is this sustainable? Because when everything else falls silent, when the room becomes too quiet, there's only one metric remains: your heartbeat. The question is not whether your heart is beating. The question is, are you living in a way your heart can survive? Thank you.